everyone, thanks again for tuning into Sin's Workshop. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about Daughters of Darkness by L.J. Smith. This was originally published in 1996, and since then it's gone through 2 rounds of edits. First round of edits you can find in your local bookstore. You know, those omnibuses where they kind of upgraded Walkman to iPod, you know, to modernize it. And this is all stuff I've read online. However, a lot of those edits were inconsistent with the storytelling. So it has gone through a second round of edits, and that one was published in 2008, I believe. This is the special edition one, published 2016. So this is a more recent edit. And it's a special edition version of the book. You know, I mean, come on, that's a beautiful cover. Who wouldn't want to purchase this? So, originally written in 1996, it really does feel like it was written in 1996. I said this when I reviewed the first book, so let's just get on with it, right? And I'll try to look at my notes a little bit more cohesively. But each book centers around different groups of characters, all within the realm of Nightworld. You know, where there are vampires and witches and werewolves, you know? So they're all different stories. And you know, I did a little bit more research when I was reading this, when I was reviewing this book, because I wanted to get all my dates and all my facts right. A lot of these books focus on the soul principle, not the soul principle, the soulmate principle of the series, of the books. So each story focuses on a character of the night world finding their soulmate. Okay, great, awesome. But like I said earlier, it does really feel like it was written in the 90s. It does lack some modernity to it. And I say that because it really does overuse that insta-love trope. I've said this a lot lately. I don't mind the insta-love trope. But there is a reason I'm not a huge fan of it, because it does lack some depth. You know, you're not really seeing the connection between the characters other than it coming off as superficial. I'm not saying insta-love cannot be done correctly. It can be. You know, if a writer is well equipped enough, they can definitely write it in a way that it doesn't come off as cliche and it doesn't come off as two-dimensional. I will say this. Up until, I guess, you know, 21st century, I don't think we as a society were really, for young adult readers anyway, we're really delving into a lot of heavy themes. You know, nowadays you have younger readers being more active in politics and in socioeconomics and in social sciences. You have young adult readers who are more aware, and I really do think that we as readers, or anyone who's a writer, we are a result of what we read. You know, I've seen my own writing change depending on what I'm reading at the moment. You know, I think we're all kind of like sponges in a way. Not saying that we lack creativity, just saying we are a reflection of what we absorb in society. So back in the 90s, I don't really think that young adult readers were, and I'm 90s baby, 91. I don't think we were as aware or thrust into a lot of what's going on in the political society right now. So I think the writing from back then, especially for young adult readers, is a little more flighty, I guess you could say. And I think this is a really good representation of that. Not saying L.J. Smith is not a good writer. I love her writing style. I really do. I loved her Vampire Diaries series. But I think there's a reason I didn't finish reading that series. Especially because Elena, after a while, it was just like two-dimensional. I felt like she was very Mary Sue, kind of like Bella from Twilight. But again, even with Stephenie Meyer's writing, I really do think her writing style has improved as well over, since Twilight was first, especially with Midnight Sun, because Bella didn't seem two-dimensional anymore. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about this one. If you want to read, listen to my review of Midnight Sun, you can go ahead and watch it. But this just went through a round of edits, not rewrites. So it really is just changing things from like Walkman to iPod and such. The characters are flighty. The characters are flighty. They do lack some depth. They are kind of two-dimensional. I think it has good writing, let me say. I know I've already said that, but it does have good writing. And I just feel like the characters, I'm sorry, I'm looking through it. I think the characters just lack some depth. They really are very two-dimensional. I think some of the writing at times is kind of weird. I really need to buy sticky notes so I can start tabbing things. But there was this particular instance when it comes to the sisters. You have three sisters, Rowan, Kestrel, and Jade. They are vampires of the night world. And, they left the night world. They're going to go live with their aunt in Briar Creek, Oregon. And I just think that some of the writing here is odd. It is odd. You think Rowan is supposed to be the wise sister. That's how the other sisters view her as. But when you read some of her lines, it's like she's kind of like in a daze, like, oh, yes. That's how I viewed her when I was reading her lines. Sometimes. It wasn't consistent. And that's probably why I think these characters are a little bit two-dimensional, because they don't really, the way other characters view them, Rowan, she's the big older sister, she's the wise one, and yet when you're reading her, she seems very absent-minded. She doesn't seem wise at all. She seems rather confused, and this is why I'm saying I need tabs, so I can start tabbing things. But because there is a particular line early on that she just says a lot, I'm trying to look for it. I'm sorry. I know I should do this stuff before I actually, start recording. But when I start talking, I start thinking, and I work backwards. But this is the thing. I don't really feel like these characters have substance. And then you have Jade, who's the flightiest of them all. She's just the youngest sister, but she seems almost like a child. And she's not. She's in her teens. I believe she's a junior, sophomore or junior in high school. But she seems like she would be in middle school. Like her tone, her narrative is very, very juvenile. That's what I'm saying. These characters don't sound the way they should sound, given how other characters are referring to them. And they sound very flighty, very young, very two-dimensional. I mean, they really do lack substance. And then in this book particularly, the insta-love trope is used twice. And neither time does it look like it has any depth. Like, I get it, soulmates, whatever. It's just like, it's a spark. I will say I did like Mary Lynn. Mary Lynn, right? Mary Lynn? Yes, Mary Lynette. Mary Lynette and Ash. I think their insta-love is the only one that works because it's not based so much on appearance. Like, yes, it's there, that insta-love, but there is some depth to it because they're bonding over their love of the night sky, over, astronomy. And I think that that's incredible. As someone who loves astronomy, I think that right there, that gives it some substance, because you're attaching their love to something that they have in common. So I like that. Whereas with Mark and Jade, it was just super flighty. It was just like, oh, she's beautiful. He's cute. It felt very much like young love, but there was really nothing to attach it to other than, young love, when you're in high school and you love your boyfriend and you think, oh, I'm gonna be with him forever. For some people, yeah, that's true, but for others, it's a high school fling, really, it doesn't work out that way for everyone. I didn't meet my husband until way into college, and he is my soulmate. But regardless, what I'm saying is you had one insta-love trope in the book that worked and one that didn't. So it was a little overplayed, and it kind of the one that didn't have substance really overshadowed Mary Lynette and Ash's romance. I just couldn't really appreciate it because that one was so cliche. So it's to highlight, the writer has Smith is able to write really well, but I think her writing is really reminiscent of the time, There weren't a lot of authors taking real life issues and inputting them into their books. Not a lot, we see it a lot now. A lot of young adult fantasy deals with racism and immigration and xenophobia and bigotry. We're seeing a lot of real world issues translated into young adult fiction, giving young adult fiction a little bit more maturity than it used to have in the 90s. So it was just kind of, it was a good book, I blew through it. It's not bad. I just think it does show my age. I think this is definitely a book for teens and tweens, young adult readers who are just looking for something entertaining to read, something full of romance and some action and adventure. But, I'm in my 30s. I'm at 30, not in my 30s. I guess I'm entering my 30s. But I think it really does show my age that I wasn't able to appreciate this. I think I probably would have loved this book, given it 5 stars if I had reviewed it when I was 14. Oh yeah, I could definitely see myself loving this book when I was 14, because that's around the time I read the Vampire Diaries series, and I loved it. Not that I finished it. But yeah, definitely for teens and tweens. It doesn't have a whole lot of depth. It really is a little superficial, kind of two-dimensional, but it's entertaining, and it was well written. And I definitely highly recommend getting this one versus the omnibuses, because the round of edits are better done. They're more well done in these, and you can get these off of your bookstore. They were just, the editors paid closer attention for the edits. So there you go. And so I do have to give Daughters of Darkness, I'll give it 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't stellar, it wasn't terrible, but it does reflect its age, and it does reflect my age. So 3 out of 5 stars. If you want to purchase the book, please remember to purchase the book from your local bookseller or online book retailer. I will include links in the description below. All I ask is that you support your bookstores versus Amazon. And on that note, I hope you all will continue to support me by liking this video and sharing it with all your book-loving friends. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And as always, happy reading.